It's been 4 years since I got my autism diagnosis. So here's some things that I wish I had known back then. After I got diagnosed, I went through a period of a good few months where I kind of regressed. I found that my sensory issues went through the roof. Noises were so loud that it felt painful. I found it hard to find any clothes that were comfortable to wear. I found that lights were really bright, and I honestly struggled to go to the supermarket at all. And I certainly found it really hard to go to the supermarket by myself. There's a weird debate that goes on in your head about whether to tell people or not that you got your autism diagnosis. I got the advice after my diagnosis that it was better to wait until after I'd been offered the job and then disclose to them that I was autistic. But I found that my first proper job, I did that. I didn't tell them that I was autistic until after I got the job, and then it ended up being a really toxic place. So I would say now I find it much easier to just be upfront at the start. People are a lot more comfortable talking about ADHD than they are talking about autism. It's kind of like ADHD is the more acceptable type of neurodivergence to have. And I think that's because there are a lot more negative stereotypes around autism, and people think that it's this bad thing because of what we've been told in the media. Meanwhile, they think that ADHD is this thing that makes you super exciting to be around, super creative. This one is so hard to hear. You go through a period of maybe about a year after you've been diagnosed as autistic where you feel super upbeat, you feel super positive because you're like, finally, I have the answers. But then you realize, oh, people don't really care about being inclusive for people with disabilities yet. And that was something that took a lot of work and therapy for me to come to terms with. If you were raised as a girl or a woman, this one's especially true for you. A lot more people will say you don't seem autistic, and it kind of feels like you're having to justify yourself. It can give you a bit of imposter syndrome. It doesn't make you any less autistic. It just means that they have in their own mind this perception of what autism looks like, and you don't fit that. Nothing to do with you. It's just the fact that unfortunately people are not that educated yet on what autism looks like. I still think it's so worth getting a diagnosis personally, but it's definitely worth keeping in mind the whole process